Hello. So I didn't particularly prepare for this talk. I got invited last week, and if you saw from the website, I work at nowhere. So yeah, I'm like a cyber hobo. And I'm not particularly passionate about peer-to-peer or decentralized web, so this is going to go well. Let's see, okay? But I have a message to tell here, a real message. And the thing is, I used to have a normal job as a web developer last year or something like that. And, in the beginning of this year, I started observing the state of the internet. And I got worried, When you look at statistics, things are... We are fucked, is the correct word. I'm sorry, I don't use this word often on stage, but things are pretty bad on the internet. I mean, we are done, basically. There's no good future for the internet. I can show you how, exactly. Take the top 10 websites of any country. Pick a country, like a Western country, not China, okay, because China blocks all kinds of things. As an example, Brazil, but that's where I come from, but you can choose any other country, Finland or US or UK. What are the top 10 websites used there? You're going to find Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. I mean, that's not a website, but anyway, the sites belonging to these two. And then other websites are usually media websites. So if you exclude Google and Facebook, you have media websites, or the big thing. Where do the media websites get their traffic from? If you take a look, their source traffic used to come from various places of the internet. Now it basically only comes from Google and Facebook, around 75%. I think this is 2015 and 16. Probably now it's around 80 or something. And this means that you take the top 10 websites of a country, it's either directly influenced and owned by Google and Facebook, or it is influenced through the media. And the media is not happy with this situation. They are pretty disappointed with this. And there's like hundreds of articles that they write where they're annoyed with this situation. So you might think, what about the long tail? All the other websites that are not in the top 10? Well, there's actually not that much traffic going to those. If you check the statistics as well, in this case, if you look at the Latin America situation, 70% of what happens through your phone in Brazil and Latin America goes to Google and Facebook directly. We're not even talking about the media websites. So 30% of all the internet traffic on mobiles to other websites like media and whatnot. So we're basically, people, the situation is that basically the internet is Google and Facebook now. That is the situation right now. And the long tail is still relevant. We can still open like Wikipedia and stuff. But where people are in these two big platforms. And that's been a major shift. So why is that a problem? Why is Google and Facebook so bad? It's not that they're necessarily bad, but they're closed. So far we had the web, which is, you could say, an open cyberspace. Okay, it's like a cyberspace where people can share content and documents to each other, but it's open. It has an open protocol. Email is also an open protocol, so it's an open cyberspace. You can think of it. But Facebook is a closed cyberspace. It is a cyberspace because you can still talk to your friends, share articles, share news, share a bunch of important stuff, do business. That's a lot of people do business through WhatsApp in Brazil, and it's in a closed cyberspace. And we don't know how closed cyberspaces affect society, and it's pretty different. It's different to the web. And so the web is not dying because someone is killing it. The web is just becoming less relevant. It's like, VHS, like videotapes compared to DVDs. I mean, at some point the DVD comes around and no one wants to use that stupid tape anymore. So that's the situation. The closed cyberspaces are becoming more attractive. And that's why slowly people are just staying in those platforms. And they are growing very fast. Here's some statistics that I gathered, how fast the internet grew, 8% over year on year. That was last year, basically. Meanwhile, Facebook, which is 50% of the internet. If you exclude China, Facebook is already 60% of the internet. If you take all the Facebook products, it's 70% of the internet. And Facebook itself grew 2 times faster than the internet, and Instagram grew 5 times faster than internet users. So if you imagine like this is the internet users, it's growing at this rate, then Facebook is growing like this. And so these are closed cyberspaces that sometimes use the open cyberspace of the internet, I mean the web, to interface, such as Facebook.com, that's the web. But the web, they're sort of closing the interface between those 2 cyberspaces gradually. So for instance, if you open Facebook mobile website, it has huge banners saying, please install the mobile app. And they are, for instance, removing the comments feature that you can put on any website. You can have Facebook comments. They're sort of going to remove that soon. There was news that announced that they're going to remove that. So I'm not going to be surprised if next year or in 2 years from now, Facebook mobile website stops working and you have to use the mobile app because they're sort of already showing it quite a lot. So slowly, we stop losing that interface between the open cyberspace and these closed cyberspaces. So why is this necessarily a bad thing? Why is this scary? First of all, is because there's no development potential. I'm not going to be a Facebook something developer. I mean, they have some APIs, but over time, what you can do with those APIs is even more disappointing. They're removing stuff. And honestly, we don't build apps on Facebook. I mean, the most interesting that you can do is an interesting chatbot or something like that. And even worse is the fact of content policing. So here, someone just gathered a playlist. They didn't even make videos. They just made a playlist out of a bunch of videos, and someone flagged their playlist, and your account may receive, some kind of first notification, and then you may be terminated at some point in the future. And this, this is not hypothetical. This happens. Another case was I made a simple website, a simple calculator for matrices. It's a very simple, and it literally only has numbers. And I don't have a Facebook account, but some friends of mine have, and they posted this there. They weren't able to post it. For some reason, there was a pop-up saying, for security reasons, you cannot put this here. And it stayed like that for 2 months until suddenly it started being okay. I mean, but for 2 months, when I launched this thing, and this was quite useful for math professors around the world, you can share this on Facebook for random reasons. It's not hypothetical. It is actual happening. So I don't want to bore you too much. I wrote this blog post that went kind of viral. The web began dying in 2014. I really would like to see different data that would disprove this. But if you are curious about is it actually dying, then you can read this. So I actually believe that the web doesn't really have a future. People will use these closed cyberspaces, and they will stay there, and they will do society there. So the situation, I like to compare it to the Titanic situation, where, the iceberg hit the Titanic, and actually for still 1 hour, the Titanic still kept going on forward, Everything was, fine, But eventually it did sink. And what I think is that we can't rescue the web. There's no way that we can revert the situation. It will be replaced by these closed cyberspaces. But we can build a rescue boat. And that's sort of what I am doing together with other people. So in the beginning of the year, I thought, man, I don't want to let this happen. I want to do something about it. So I left my job, and I became a cyber hobo, and I started building random things with random other people on the internet. Doing these stuff. So I'm going to show you a couple of projects. And the overall idea is the internet stack of protocols has been, for many years, kind of like this, that you have the browser on the top, and then it talks with HTTP and whatnot. And the problem has been mostly that this is a hard-coded stack. So for a long time, it has been hard-coded that the browser will use necessarily HTTP, and HTTP will necessarily use TCP, which will necessarily use IP, and so forth. Fortunately, nowadays, it's not strictly Ethernet, but we also have wireless, so Wi-Fi. But the overall idea to build that rescue boat is, let's keep the browser world and the front end, that part, and let's sort of interchange everything here in between and make everything sort of like flexible so that I can use a website through HTTP or through DAT or through this or IPFS or that, and I can use TCP or UDP or UTP and all kinds of things. So we can interchange those things more and have more sort of flexibility on the future of the web, so it's not tied to a specific thing. Because the problem has been actually, what has been the problem with the internet is this thing called IPv4 and NAT, which sort of build the right incentives for the client-server model, because peer-to-peer doesn't really work on the internet because you only have these like NATs in front of, in the routers. So actually what's funny is that we have IPv6 for 20 years already. IPv6 is ready, but there's not right business incentives to make that happen for real. So actually, the IPv4 scarcity is a business opportunity because anything scarce is like a resource that you can sell, and that's it. They sell IPv4 addresses. So by making this stack flexible, we can sort of future-proof the web. So I can show you some projects that are doing something like this. One of them is IPFS. Please raise your hand if you have heard of it. You guys need to do more reading because this is really sort of big, I think. And I'm actually not going to talk about IPFS because I think it's so popular. I'm going to talk about something else. So basically, yeah, whatever. See, I haven't prepared. I'm going to talk about DAT. DAT is similar to IPFS in some senses, but it was originally built for a different purpose, which was to share data sets between researchers. For instance, let's say I have a big data set of, I don't know, some kind of genome thing that has many gigabytes, and then I just want to share that data set, which was on my computer. So I select that data set in gigabytes, and I just do that, and then it will create one of these things, and then I can just share this link to anyone. And then that person will, this is kind of like a BitTorrent magnet link, you can think of it. So it's similar to BitTorrent, and it's also similar to IPFS. So, but the interesting thing that DAT gives, which I haven't seen in IPFS, and they describe here in their website, is that DAT is an application protocol. So it doesn't like necessarily say how should you transport the data and that kind of thing. So basically DAT can substitute HTTP. And DAT can use TCP, UDP, UTP, and you can build something else for the transport layer if you want. So that gives a lot of cool flexibility to build interesting things. I'm going to demo some of them. So one of the things I built using DAT was a decentralized app store, you can think of it. So it's called Dat installer. So, oh yeah, I need to demo that. I don't have internet here right now, okay? I'm just going to demo whatever, let's say Verkkokauppa.fi. This is the most important website in Finland. I don't have internet, see? Okay, and then I open this Dat installer, and it's connected to some Wi-Fi here that I made, and I have here on this other phone an app, okay? I have an app there inside this Dat installer. And it's also connected to the same Wi-Fi, and what I need to do is just add that Dat link. I hope it's the same, yeah. I add it, and now this phone is transferring to that phone the app. I hope this doesn't like do demo problems, but it should get there eventually. I think it's like 9 megabytes. They are searching each other, so right now it's sort of like talking to other peers in the same LAN, sending what they call multicast DNS, just broadcasting like, hey, I am using this, and there we go, we have it here. And it's an app, and I can install it. I'll install it later, and I'll show it to you later. So there you go, you have a decentralized app store that you could use without the internet. So if you're in some kind of country that has less reliable internet, you can share apps and app updates as well through this kind of thing. And that's one of the cool things built with DAT. I can show you something else, which is very exciting, and that's the Beaker browser. So what Beaker does is something radical. It's a normal browser, okay? So for instance, I can open the framework that I built. It's like and this is HTTP, okay? As you can see there, HTTP. It's a normal website, a normal browser. But I'm also serving this same website through Dat. And that means that if I just change the protocol here to Dat, Cyberspaces.org, now I am basically fetching this website from anyone who is sharing that website. So think of BitTorrent meets browser, so that you can seed a website, and now I'm leeching that website. And people, this is a normal browser with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You can use normal frameworks. It is actually front-end technology. It just really changes that client and server relationship. It's just now, it's peer-to-peer. And this is the interchangeability which makes things very future-proof, because now, if we run out of internet, it's not a big problem here in Finland, but like in other countries it is. If they run out of internet, they could start hosting their websites from their own computers and share updates of the websites when they walk around through various sorts of Wi-Fi hotspots. This is possible. Another pretty cool application of that, besides just seeding websites, of course, you can, once you publish a website, you're not sending it anywhere, you're just seeding it, right? So it's pretty easy to make a new website. But also, people have built real applications using that, and this is a type of social network that looks like Twitter. It's called Rotunda, and I'm going to create my Rotunda profile here. And I don't need to sign up, I'm just forking the website. I'm literally forking it in the sense of like Git. And once it does that, it sort of copy-pastes the files necessary for this social media profile, and there I have this my profile. I could send some messages here. I haven't used this so much. Let's try hello world maybe. There we go. I have hello world, and this was saved on my computer. I didn't send it anywhere, okay? But now I could share my link with other people, and they will suddenly be following me. And there's a lot of people who built a lot of crazy stuff there's many feeds. Let me check if I can find some. Yeah, so here are a bunch of people. They have their Twitter accounts, and here are their like Dat accounts. And it's been growing quite a lot, at least in terms of speed. So I could take a random user and just sort of try to follow them. And let's see. Here, the count of peers shows on the corner there how many other peers are seeding this website as we speak, and this is live on the internet. And this is a social network. It kind of looks like Twitter, but it's pretty cool because everyone can customize their own Twitter, not Twitter, but Rotunda feed. If I show you, for instance, how what happened when I forked it, I have a library of my websites here. And these are the files for that website. And, it's a normal folder that I could open. There you go, you have the files there. And I could, change colors, change anything, change the CSS. And once I change it, let me try changing it. Why not? I'm going to probably just mess around with this. I haven't planned this, okay? I don't know, let's try body, background, color, red. Let's try that. No idea if this is gonna work, it should. Review changes, publish, now I'm seeding my website. Let's see if it's red. Let's look at that, see? But I didn't need to publish this anywhere, and the cool thing is that these are forkable websites that I completely own. It's on my computer, literally. So that's Rotunda, and it's been growing quite awesomely. You should take a look if you're interested. Another thing related to, I talked about interchangeability of these protocols, but there's also virtualization of these protocols. One of the cool things is, what if we could have a sort of local area network, which is throughout the whole world. And that's the idea of zero-tier. It's kind of like, imagine a VPN that we all share. So I get an address, a fixed address, an IP address, which is always mine. And through this network, we can all talk to each other. And that's the idea of zero-tier. What it enables us is to virtualize the IP layer and the routing so that we can have internet without NAT. And then everything else works because everything else is based on IP. So you could have an email server on your computer, and that would be, you would have, let's say, Andre at 127.0942, the IP address. That would be my email address. And my IP is fixed. Another similar thing to zero-tier, because there's a company behind this because they host the root servers. But another one, which is completely cyberpunk, is called CJDNS, where there's no company involved anyhow. You just need to sort of ask someone else who is on the CJDNS network to invite you to the CJDNS network. And then it's a network on the internet. Imagine just a social network where we have IP addresses, and that's all that we have. And then we build on top of those IP addresses what we usually have. And that's awesome as well. So beyond that, there's many types of applications that you have, like Google Maps. One of the interesting projects that I'm related to and I'm working with is called OpenStreetMaps peer-to-peer. And this is a way of basically getting all the data that is in OpenStreetMaps and hosting it on your computer so that you can share that with people without the internet. And they use this for real. There's a nonprofit called Digital Democracy that they are building this in order to help marginalized communities in the Amazon. So what these people do is that they need to update their maps, and they need to mark where's an oil company coming and tearing down their trees. So they need to update their maps, and they don't have internet. They just have computers that they got donated. And this is what Mapeo, so basically what Digital Democracy is doing, to provide sort of Google Maps without Google and without the internet. It's just maps based on OpenStreetMaps. So I'm helping them to bring this to mobile. That's a pretty big thing because mobile would be much more handy than desktop, especially for them who are walking around quite often. What else? Substack, he did Browserify for JavaScript. He's now doing quite a lot of things for this project called Peer Maps, which is related to that project as well. He's basically getting this architecture that he found in this project for Digital Democracy, and he's sort of expanding on that. And this is also Node.js based, and it takes data from OpenStreetMaps, and it's pretty cool as well. But I'm going to talk about the project which I'm working with, and this is sort of the main thing that I've been involved with, and it's called Scuttlebutt. It's basically a protocol for social news feeds. And I can show you basically how it's already working. And just in case, I'm going to turn off my Wi-Fi, just to prove you that this is not on the internet. Here's a Scuttlebutt application that uses the Scuttlebutt protocol. There's other apps that use the same protocol, and this is just one of the apps, okay? And it's social news feeds. I mean, it really kind of looks like Facebook. You can like stuff, you can talk and whatnot. The idea here is a news feed is a pretty simple data structure. It's just a log of messages, and those messages are chained to each other through signatures. And that's what they are doing here in order to make the synchronization easier. So what goes on here is that I write my news feeds on my computer, and it saves on my computer. It's saved here. Actually, I have, let's see, how much data do I have here? I have about 3 gigabytes of news feeds on my computer, and there's like a lot of content. Most of it are pictures that are non-essential, so I have actually just 700 megabytes. And it sounds like a lot of megabytes, but I have so much content here, and it's ridiculous. It's a lot of content. And all of this is offline, is on my computer. And there's no need for servers, because what we have is I have my newsfeed here, and next time I meet you, that can be through a LAN or through the internet or through Bluetooth. I could update what are my latest news feeds with your latest news feeds, so then we synchronize and we get the latest news from each other. So it's a very simple protocol that works pretty awesomely. And people are building additional applications on top of this protocol. One of the cool things is that, hey, Git kind of looks like this, because Git is a log of commits, right? So what they did is a decentralized GitHub built on top of Scuttlebutt that is already there for me. Let's try localhost 7718. And there I go. I have no internet, okay? This is coming only from my computer. There's a bunch of repositories there, which I could read, like I usually do on GitHub, for instance. I'm just trying to pick an interesting, Patch Bay. Patch Bay is another client app, and right now, it's probably indexing the database. Let's see if something else. Whoops, why did that happen? This is what happens with live demo stuff. I think my bot broke. Let me just open that again. But it's worth checking out, because it really looks like GitHub in the sense that it has issues and pull requests and everything. There we go, we're back. Secret handshake, for instance. Something going on. We need help, was my main message. We need more people, more hands, more things building. For some reason, that broke. And now I could show quickly what I'm doing as well. I'm going to install this application. This is basically a mobile client for Scuttlebutt, which looks pretty much like Facebook. And I'm installing it from the APK that I just downloaded from this other phone. It will take some. Yeah, it downloaded and installed. And I'm going to post a message here. I'm going to say, hello, hack talks. Done. Oops, I did a typo. It's going to appear here on this phone, I guess, if the Wi-Fi is fine. No, I think it's not on the Wi-Fi. Yeah. Let me just put it back on that same Wi-Fi. Yep, it came on. Yeah, it's on the same Wi-Fi. And I could like it from here, and the like appeared here. And this is what I'm building, people. This is what I'm dedicating a lot of time, is to give an alternative, give that rescue boat in case things go very bad on the internet. And if you are a web developer and you want to have a career as a web developer still in 5 years, you must do something. We have a lot of things that could be done, and we need a lot of help. One of the things that you can do if you don't have any time, you could donate to the Beaker browser. There's a donation page, Open Collective Beaker, where you can donate to that. Even $5 is helpful. What else you can do? You can help fix the Git SSB, because that wasn't working. And actually, we have a couple of grants in the Scuttlebutt community to fund different kinds of sub-projects. One of them is getting SSB, Git SSB to be better. So basically, you can submit a proposal, and if it helps the Scuttlebutt community, it will receive some money and can work on it. One of them is to improve Git SSB, which needs improvements. What else can you do? You can help the Beaker browser, like by building actual useful things, like in the style of rotunda. You can also, there's a job for digital democracy if you want to help bring those maps for those indigenous people. There's a job role here that you could take. So at the same time you have a job, and at the same time you help the future of the internet and technology. It's pretty cool. But basically, the message here is you know, we can, as people building the rescue boat, you know, we can be the pioneers. We can go back to being hobbyists. I don't know if you have a long experience with the internet, but it used to be like a hobbyist thing, and it used to be a pioneer thing, a hacker thing, and that's where all the sort of innovation came from, and now it's all like enterprised, and it's all like controlled by 2 companies or 3. So if you want to do that, please, we need your help. Thank you for listening.